Joining me now from Oxford, England, Richard Johnson is a senior lecturer in US politics at Queen Mary University of London. Appreciate you joining us.
Good morning.
So let's start with the Texas Senate Democratic primary, where James Tallarico surprised everyone with CNN projecting he will win after his intense battle with Jasmine Crockett. She is alleging that people have been disenfranchised after the state Supreme Court stopped Dallas County from counting late votes due to confusion over new rules. But Tallarico has won enough support, it seems. So how significant is his win for the Democratic Party, and what could it mean for the future?
I think these two candidates basically had two different targets in this campaign, particularly when I'm thinking about the negative campaigning that they did, not against each other, but on the one side with Jasmine Crockett, her target was Donald Trump. And she ran very strongly, I am the candidate who stands for everything that Donald Trump does not. But James Tallarico, he presented himself in some ways as a more conciliatory figure, but also he had this kind of anti-elite message, a kind of left populist message as well. So although Tallarico is someone who we might say is perhaps a little bit more socially conservative than the median Democrat nationally, he's a seminarian, he's a sort of strong Christian, but he pitched himself as someone who would go after the billionaires and the elite. And I think actually that combination of someone who can have a more socially conciliatory message, particularly in a state like Texas, but also have a strong left populist message, could be a very interesting combination when we come to the general election in November.
Indeed. And of course, trouble for the Texas Senate Republican primary with John Cornyn and Ken Paxton heading for a runoff. Why was incumbent Cornyn unable to get the support he needed to win this outright? And how likely is it that President Trump will endorse one of these candidates to avoid the high cost of a runoff election?
This is a sign of pretty profound weakness on the part of a long-standing incumbent. John Cornyn has been a senator for 2 decades and has long been seen as a fairly conservative person. However, he has, I think, committed 2 sins in the eyes of the MAGA movement. One is that he's been part of the Republican leadership, so he was the Republican Senate whip, so that gives a sense that he's kind of part of the swamp, as the MAGA side would see it. And the second is that occasionally he has disagreed with Donald Trump, particularly around the 2020 election lie that said that Donald Trump had actually won the election. And Cornyn did not go along with that. Cornyn also supported masking during COVID. And so those are things that Ken Paxton has seized on. And really, I think this is going to be a big problem for the Republicans because they now have this runoff at the end of May. So we've got nearly 3 more months of Paxton and Cornyn taking potshots out of each other rather than focusing on defeating the Democrat, James Tallarico. And Tallarico now gets a clear run right up until November.
Right. And just very quickly, we already know, of course, that the upcoming midterm elections will be tough for Republicans, with President Trump's approval rating below 40% in most polls. And with the threat of the Democrats taking back the House and the Senate in play, Texas is critical in all of this, of course. So what do you think will happen when it comes to Texas in the months ahead and, of course, during the midterms?
There is a bit of a dilemma, I think, for the Democrats about Texas, because Texas is always this prize the Democrats have had their eye on, and they've become sort of fixated on it in different election campaigns. Back in 2018, when the Democrats nominated Beto O'Rourke for the Senate contest against Ted Cruz, the Democrats out-fundraised the Republicans 2-1 in a state that's very, very expensive to run election campaigns in. I mean, I think this could become the most expensive campaign in American history. It already is with respect to the primary. And there's a question for Democrats as to whether they want to redirect ultimately valuable resources to one state, which gives the same yield to them as winning a much smaller state, and could, in a other close contest, could cost them. So I think part of it will depend on whether the Republicans choose Paxton or Cornyn. I think if they choose Paxton, who's a much more divisive character, then I think Democrats will go probably all in on it. If the Republicans choose Cornyn, I think they'll still fight hard for it, but maybe not quite with the same level of intensity.
All right, our thanks to Richard Johnson for bringing us that political analysis. Thank you so much.